Welcome back to Survivor Girl Podcast. Hi, everybody. I'm glad that you're joining us. Of course, before we get started into introducing my guest tonight, I have to go over the disclaimer. I am not a doctor or a therapist. I'm not able to treat or prescribe or any of that kind of thing. So I'm just here to share what I've gone through in thriving and surviving, and also when my guests are on the same thing. So I am thankful that we are here again. Another wonderful Sunday. Very well rested up after this weekend and looking forward to this week, which gets me into reminding you guys that I try to get on Mondays and do the motivational Monday. So I hope that you guys have been kind of catching on with that and listen to that. It's not very long. It's just a little blip of whatever it is that I got in my mind in the morning, and to help hopefully get positive more moving in the morning and for the new week. So I will see you guys tomorrow on that as well. And before I forget, before I move forward, I should say, I'm also re-aired on solidstateradio.net, and you can go listen to those over there. And all these episodes are archived. So we are on episode number 72. So you can go back and listen to all the old ones if you would like to as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it. I have Bobby joining me today. We actually met through a mutual friend. I'm thankful to have you here. When we first met, I had no idea that you had quite a journey, and you had some things that you wanted to share, which is something that's incredible with doing Survivor Girl. I get to meet new people that have gone through some pretty crazy things and are here to share their story to help everybody who listens in on Survivor Girl to get either that push that they need or inspiration or whatever it is that they take from the episode. So I'm glad to have you join me. I'm glad to meet you.
Thank
you are an incredibly strong woman.
Thank you.
And I have really enjoyed being able to talk with you and get to know you. You were just on our other podcast that is about nothing and everything.
It was fun.
We were glad that you had you join us there, but it was nice to talk afterward and before, because I did really get to see a little bit more of who you are and get to know a little bit about where you've come from. There's a lot of things. I mean, but you're here.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin.
I guess, one of the big things with Survivor Girl is to show that you can make it through things. So I guess it would be starting where one of the harder things are, or there's a lot of different things I know that we all face in our life. And
one of the hardest things I faced was probably when I was 13, when my sister died. That was rough. She was hit by a drunk driver, and she was 9, I was 13, and our brother was 20, and my parents completely fell apart, as you can imagine.
Oh, I mean,
it's a hard thing to lose a child, and to lose a child that way, that was hard. And then a year later, my grandmother passed away, and so she was kind of my strength, my backbone. She was the one that helped raise me, and so losing her at 14 was hard as well. So I had a lot of loss in a brief, short amount of time. Somehow I managed to keep moving forward. I think it was my aunt that was there. She helped get me through those rough teenage years, and gave me coverage when I needed it, when I was doing something fun. I come from an Italian family with an Italian father, and so that can make life interesting.
Okay. All right.
He is tough. So it can be tough. And then getting married young. Before I got married, though, when I was 19, I had an unplanned pregnancy, and made a painful decision. And it's on a lot of people's minds lately about being pro-choice or pro-life. And I'm all about body autonomy. Don't come at me. Don't come at me in either vein, please. It's not something that's easy for a woman to decide. And so when people go after women, I think she's going to have enough.
Right. There's already
she's going to have enough.
A tough decision that was already made, and to live with that too.
Right. Exactly. And you live with it every day. I live with it every day, every year. Um, Not something I'm proud of, but not something I'm ashamed of either. Um, and that took years of counseling to get through, to get to that point, to be able to say, hey, let me help you with this. I've
Right.
gone through it. And so, um, anyway, and then getting married young. I got married at 22, which I consider young.
Yeah.
At the age that I'm at now, I think,
Right now. Yeah, I hear that.
that's a baby, you know?
Mhm.
So, being married at 22 and really, I married an older man, only 4 years older, not that much older. He kind of was the boss, for lack of a better word, just because I really didn't know what to do. And I had couple girlfriends come along, oops, and teach me how to run a checkbook, teach me how to pay bills,
Yeah.
teach me how to grocery shop, and all the little wifely things that you have to do. And then the babies started coming, and I was drowning in babies. First, I couldn't get pregnant, and then I couldn't stop getting pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, Lord, what are you doing to me here?
Yeah.
Like, I spent years on my face praying for a baby. And then I spent years on my face praying for the babies to stop coming.
Yeah.
I had 3 babies in just under 4 years, but I also had 2 miscarriages in there. So I was pregnant a lot.
Yeah.
I was breastfeeding a lot. My life was full of hormonal ups and downs, a lot of depression, a lot of unsuredness
Mhm.
growing into womanhood. And I had these 3 little people looking up at me that needed mom to have her poop in a group.
Yeah.
And I really didn't have my poop in a group.
Yeah.
I really didn't. But I got through it. But my marriage was hard. My marriage was hard. And on the outside, everybody thought that we had everything you could ever want. We had a beautiful home. He made great money. I stayed home with our kids. Our kids are wonderful. But I was left feeling like I was missing something. And I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
I didn't know really what that was. And nobody ever warned me of feeling this way.
Right.
Nobody warned me about standing in front of my refrigerator and crying as I'm looking at what to make the kids for dinner or lunch or whatever.
Did you have any postpartum
Yes.
afterward?
Yes.
I've never been pregnant, so I don't know what any of that kind of feels like.
Mm-hmm.
How can you explain some of that?
Think about your worst period
Oh, okay.
and think about your feelings, like just you can't get off the couch, you're sad, you cry, or you don't cry. Just think about feeling worthless. And like your opinion doesn't matter, your voice, nobody can really hear you.
Yeah.
I really felt invisible.
And I understand too that it's after obviously it's postpartum, so you have the baby and then you're trying to find out, okay, how am I supposed to take care of this baby and take care of myself, and then have all that going on at the same time. And a lot of women don't understand that, especially new moms. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, my mom with my last baby, she stayed with us for a couple days and I sent her home
Right.
because I was like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I got this, you know? After our second baby, I think their dad stayed home for a limited time. And then I was like, I got this. I'll be fine. With our first baby, I absolutely knew nothing. Like, I didn't know heads or tails. But I had friends that stepped in and kind of guided me and led me and showed me here's how to set up, I don't really want to say a meal plan, but like, write things down, keep a journal of when the baby poops, of when the baby takes a bottle, of when the baby takes a nap. That way you can look back at it and you can see patterns will develop. Um, as far as my own mental health, back in the late 90s, I'm really aging myself. Uh, Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were starting to become concerned about postpartum. Some women were going off the deep end and it was in the news.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. I actually, with my last baby, because they had seen me go through it 2 times before,
Mhm.
with my last baby, they looked at me and said, "How are you really?" And I said, "Well, I feel weird." And they wanted to know what I meant. And I said, "Well, I see my arms out here, but I don't feel like they're attached to my body.
Yeah.
I know I have feet. I know I have hands, but I don't know how they're working." Like there was a severe disconnect between my brain and my body.
Wow.
So they kept me in the hospital, got me on antidepressants, which as a breastfeeding mom is a scary thought because that can dry up your milk
Oh,
supply
okay.
or affect it. And so I was a little nervous about that. But I did it anyway because my then husband said, whatever it takes.
Right.
If you need a Zoloft or whatever it was, I don't remember now, but um, to be able to get through this postpartum in one piece and be able to take care of the children
Mhm.
and yourself, then so be it.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, okay, that's fine. I'll do it. But I want to be able to breastfeed. I knew it was my last baby.
Right.
So um, I did it. Things got better. The cloud lifted. But they called it prepartum depression. So I had depression in my second and my third pregnancies.
Oh, wow.
So they could kind of see it coming,
Mhm.
but I don't know. My hormones were just out of whack. I don't know. I do struggle with depression still, and I take medication every day, and I take care of myself. If I'm tired, I go to bed at 7:30. If
You listen to
I
yourself.
listen to my body.
I
Yeah,
think we fight that a lot,
yeah.
especially those of us that do suffer from depression or have it. I think the weirdest thing that I've discovered with going through and having depression is feeling it coming on, being able to tell when
Mm-hmm.
it's coming on and go, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to have to go through this. I understand though that our bodies and our minds need a little bit of a break sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, sometimes it's hard to ignore. Um, but then also our society pushes women to do more, to be everything they can be, blah, blah, blah. Um, and I have decided to fight that,
yeah,
so to speak. I stayed home for a number of years with my children. So I could be in their lives. I could be, gosh, how do I put this? Like, I wanted my life to center around them
mm,
and show them what I didn't have. So I didn't have my mom at home when I got off the bus. I wanted to be there when they got off the bus. Not only that, but I wanted to know what they were going through on a daily basis where my parents didn't necessarily know, which, okay, I'm an 80s kid. I was born in the 70s. You grew up in the 80s. Latchkey kids. We
mm,
come home on our own. We get off the bus. We make ourselves a snack. I mean, we all went through it,
yep,
you know.
yep,
Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was the right thing to do.
right, yeah,
So my then husband and I decided that I would stay home with the kids. And that meant living on a budget, the B word, which is not a dirty word. It's actually a word that gives you freedom. And we lived that way for a long time. Like going out to eat was a rarity and it was special, which I know sounds like I'm talking like the glory days, but whatever. Um, but there came a point where I started to lose myself in staying home.
it's like a solitaire.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like the walls started to close in on me, so to speak. It's hard to explain. I was Tim's wife and I was the kids' mom and I was so and so's daughter-in-law, and I was so and so's daughter, and who is Bobby?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And so, but then also I was dealing with some not so nice things in my marriage. He was speaking to me in a way that was unkind. I never had any control over our money. Um, so much so that at the end of our marriage, it got to the point where I was going to the bank once a week and asking what our balances were and then taking out money
Yeah.
to tuck away.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I need to know what's going on. I don't know what's in our savings. I don't know how many accounts we have. I don't know what bills are being paid. I didn't have anything in my name, so my credit wasn't being built. So at one point, I started taking out credit cards in my name
Mm-hmm.
to start building my credit. Because I said to him, it wasn't fair that he's got all of this. The house is in his name, the cars are in his name, his credit rating is stellar,
Yeah.
but mine is non-existent.
Right.
And so I started to build my credit. And so he would get mad at me, but I would go to like Kohl's or Sears, Sears is kind of now defunct, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
JC. Well, like
JC,
JC Penney still
yeah.
is, but
Well,
it's different.
pick a
It's a
department
lot of.
store,
You're right.
any department store, and if they offered a discount for a card, I would go for it,
Yeah.
and I would get credit cards in my name only.
Yeah.
And he would pay the bill because I would make sure, he paid
Yeah.
the bill, so he had to pay the bill. So I started to build my credit slowly. And one day I looked and I had a 750. I'm like, how did I do that? I didn't plan it, but when I left my marriage of 22 years, I had a 775
Wow.
credit score. Um, didn't have a lot of money, but I had enough
Yeah.
to buy a house and land on my 2 feet. So that was probably the hardest thing in my life. And then just getting ready to get there.
Right.
So everything it takes to get to that point. But
Well, and you started taking those steps as putting money away and then getting your credit built up so that you could. But that's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. The only reason I can kind of relate with you is because I was married. I was in a relationship for 10 years and just things just continued to happen. And
little things
little
here and
things
there.
here and there.
Death by a million cuts.
I went to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to therapy, I myself had gotten on medication. And as soon as I got on the medication, the light came on.
Yeah.
And I went, wait a minute, who am I married to?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to on a trip with my mom, and he was gone. Or he stayed home, and I come back, and I was like, what is going on here? And I just opened up my eyes, and I went, okay, I can't. But I didn't have anything put away. I didn't save anything.
Mm-hmm.
He actually came to give me a kiss, and I said, I want a divorce.
Ooh.
It just popped out. My mom said, why did you do that? You don't have anywhere to go. You don't. But I couldn't take it apparently anymore, and the lights were on, and we talked. We worked through things finally after a year had gone by, and I just, I'm not good with confrontation. I was just like, I'm going to take time away. I'm rebuilding myself, starting over from ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand when it's like, wow, I need to move. I need to move on. I need to get going.
Yeah, I wanted to leave 10 years in, but, well, let me take that back. I wanted to leave probably 5 years in, but I kept getting pregnant. And financially, I started writing things down. I'm like, I can't do it. And people kept saying, it's going to get easier. It's going to get better. The longer you're married, the easier it is. Just give it time. We took classes. We went to this counselor. We went to that counselor. We talked to his parents. We talked to my parents. We talked to siblings. We talked to friends. I was tired of, okay, the finger's always pointed at me. I have to be more mild. I have to be more meek. Okay, Bobby, just keep tamping yourself down. Oh, Bobby, if you would go and do the gardening. Oh, the lawn is really important to him. So go and do the gardening. Do some landscaping. You just need to have more sex. You just need to put on a nice negligee. You just need to, whatever he needs, you just need to anticipate his needs, and you just need to make sure that he comes home to a clean home. And I'm like, why is this all about him?
Yeah. Where do you come in at that
Where
point?
do I fit in? What about my happiness?
Right.
What about our kids? What am I inconsequential? Do I matter?
Yeah.
And I was floored at some of the responses I got from, I'll be honest, some of my church friends.
Yeah.
Well, the Lord loves those who suffer for his sake.
Wow.
And to that, I did want to give a big middle finger.
I don't blame you.
And it pushed me in a direction I'm not proud of. I started lashing out. I started seeking attention in ways that I couldn't previously fathom.
Yeah.
It turned me into a person I swore I would never be. And for those things, I've repented. But also, it brought me to a place of clarity.
Yeah.
When a man loves a woman, he should never bring harm to her.
No.
In any form or fashion.
Not mental, not physical.
Not verbal, not financial. Not harming her children. It pisses me off to no end that I had pastors say I should stay because I didn't have bruises.
But underlying, there's so many. And do they not realize how many bruises are actually not visible? The mental alone goes with you for so long, and it can stay with you for a long time.
The body keeps the score.
That's true.
I have an autoimmune disorder. I have fibromyalgia. I have chronic fatigue. I have arthritis. Would I have had all of that had I felt like I had a voice? I don't know. I don't know. Fibromyalgia stems, there's a lot of women in my family that have it. And so it is genetic, but at the same time, it's caused from trauma. It's a trauma response.
Yeah.
Your body reacts to trauma. If you have unexplained pain, if you have unexplained fatigue, you can't get out of bed, it's trauma.
You see this a lot in other people now that you've gone through it. You notice it more, even if they don't say anything.
I do. I see it in a lot of my friends.
Yeah, after the podcast the other day, you just were like, hey, you've been abused. Yeah, I've gone through a lot too. I talk about some of it, and I have talked about a lot of it on Survivor Girl, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see the remnants of trauma in people. That's why I'm getting my BSW, because I want to help people. But more than that, I think the Lord lays it before me.
Yeah.
When you know about something, like truly know about it, you can spot it a mile away. My husband now, Nathan, we have been married since May, but we've been together for about 4 years. He got me through that season of divorce and that season of realizing that I was in a toxic situation that was only getting worse. And he loved me through it as my friend, not as a lover, not as I want this woman in my life permanently. He just loved Bobby and reminded me who I am, that I'm a woman, that I'm a people too, as he would say to me, you're a people too.
That's incredible.
You know, you're a person too. You're Opinions matter. Your voice matters. You deserve to be heard.
That's awesome.
Um, but he's had to wade through a lot of crap with me because a woman who's been through trauma has an attitude,
This is true.
is very guarded, has a very high wall. Ask Tony. He could never break through my wall.
Yeah.
No, wasn't trying to, but I didn't give anybody opportunity. And I know that the Lord knew that, and that is why Nathan was allowed in to my life, because he was a friend and we had a long-standing friendship, like 25 years.
Wow.
And so he was probably the last male that I trusted besides my sons. I didn't even trust my dad. Didn't trust my brother. Nope. You got a penis. I want nothing to do with you. Get away. It was my boys and me. My daughter was away at school, so she was kind of doing her own thing, kind of on the fringe of what was happening, if you will. But Nate was right at the heart of it. He was like, nope, you need to eat. Nope, you need to go take a nap. Oh, you need to go to your doctor's appointment. Oh, let me take you for your pain shots. Let me, I don't know, do the laundry for you. How can I help you? Coming to my house and doing yard work. And I'm like, this isn't your house. This is my house. Like, what are you doing? I have 2 teenage boys. They can clearly mow the lawn. And he's like, nope, I'm here to alleviate the burden. And I'm like, who are you? What do you want? He's like, I don't want anything. When are you going to realize that? And I'm like, probably never. Probably never. And he said, it's fine. He'd sleep on the couch. If he stayed too late, he would just sleep on the couch. We finally got to a point where I was like, okay, you can have a closet. You can have this drawer. I don't trust you yet, but you can come. Yeah. And he's like, that's fine. I don't have to come. You can. I don't have to stay the night. And I'm like, I kind of want you to.
Yeah.
I am a woman.
Yep.
And he was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll if you want me to go away, I'll back away quietly and let you go back to your marriage. If you want to try to work that out, I'll let you go. He was willing to let me go. I was like, I don't want that. Well, what do you want? I don't know. What do you want, Bobby? I don't know. Well, do you want me to go? No, I don't want you to go. Do you want me to stay? Yes, I want you to stay, but I don't know what I want. I was kind of,
Yeah.
like and he knew he had to prove to me that he wasn't going to hurt me.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't argue, because we certainly do.
I think all relationships, whether they're good or bad, I think, even friendships,
Yeah, I have a voice. I have a voice, and he makes sure that it's heard. Now, that being said, I have to dial it back and make sure he's taken care of too. I had to go through some stuff to rebuild myself, like you talked about rebuilding.
Yeah.
That's a true statement.
It is.
That
absolutely.
is a long ass season.
It is. And you know what? The crazy thing about that whole thing for me was that I had to rebuild. I didn't even have a vehicle. I had to get a ride to work for a whole entire year. My credit was shot. Everything that I had put in the bank account was gone. I had nothing. I had nothing. And I ended up moving in. It's funny, but I ended up moving in with a friend that we worked with, and it was a guy. So at first he wouldn't move in with me. He had a girlfriend, but he didn't want to move in with me because he didn't want people talking bad about me, because he knew that if he lived with me, they would start saying things. But then he needed a place, and we lived together for 7 years, and we both watched each other go through such crazy relationships and all these things together. And now, he's like a brother to me, like one
Hmm.
of the best people I could have ever had in my corner at that time. And it rebuilding completely.
From the ground up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. My faith was the only thing that never took a hit. Um, I remember walking into church. It was Mother's Day, and feeling like I was home. And the boys and I had made a decision that we would go to church here at a local church, and we're still there. Um, and it's definitely home, and I've definitely grown, and I've made some connections. And one woman today stopped me after second service and said, that one song you sang about trusting God with everything, and I can't remember all the words to it now. I sang it, but I can't remember it. Um, she said, "Oh, it was confidence about giving. I have every confidence that I'm in His hands."
Mm-hmm.
And that is true. I mean, I had every confidence that God was going to go before me. He goes beside me. He's behind me.
Mm-hmm.
He's pushing me forward. He's in front of me, clearing the path. And I relied on Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not bring you to harm, which I'm paraphrasing. I'm not spot on there. But
Right.
anyway, um, I just would just repeat that to myself. Jeremiah 29:11. I know He's going to get me through. I have to believe it. I have to believe it. And believe was a big word for me. God gave me a word, believe, years ago, and I just had to believe Him for my healing,
Mm-hmm.
and believe Him for the direction my life was going. And slowly, bit by bit, piece by piece, my life started to fall together to where it is today. Um, the process was insane. People don't even realize, most people don't even know what I went through
Yeah.
because I didn't broadcast it.
Right.
Because I didn't want to do that to my kids. Oh, there goes your crazy mom, because there's the lie.
Right.
Oh, she must be having a midlife crisis. She's lost her mind. She's left her husband. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the judgment, no matter what it is that you're doing, whether it's good or bad. Even I've found,
Mm-hmm.
even when you're doing something that you really genuinely want to do, there's still always going to be somebody
Yeah.
that's like, oh, they're just doing it for this.
But the church community can be the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the hardest on other Christians. I I don't know. It just ticks me off that, oh, well, let's just, yeah, she's lost her mind. She's having a breakdown. My ex threw me under the bus at every chance he got, and I lost several friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're going to leave an abusive relationship, there's going to be casualties. There just is.
Yeah.
And you have to be strong enough to stand up underneath of it. And that is what I have found, that standing up underneath of it, bearing the weight on my back, if you will, on my shoulders, and leaning on those who truly were there for me, I have a handful that I can look at and say, thank you for having my back when I honestly had no idea which way was up. But you had me. And it's a hard cross to bear. But once you get through it and you get to the other side, you look back and go, I did that?
Yeah. I imagine now, like, if you were to put where you were then and you see yourself now, what the difference would be, if you would even recognize who you used to be.
Recognizing who I used to be probably 10 years ago, absolutely not. I feel like as much as I didn't want to be a weak-minded woman, I feel like I was. But I feel like I was a weak-minded woman because I was not given the strength to be who I was meant to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
When you have that support, like my husband now, for me to come here tonight, and the other night when we did the other show, he was like, hey, have fun. Is he worried I'm out cheating on him? Is he worried about, I'm running around? No, that man was at home sound asleep. He don't care.
Isn't that an incredible feeling when that's
Incredible. He
yeah.
trusts me, and I trust him 150%.
And that's important in relationship too, to be able to have your space and still be able to have that freedom of who you are, to trust and be able to do those kinds of things and go, okay.
Yeah, just be you. And that was one of the things he said to me in the beginning. I just want you to be you. He's known me since I was 18. I don't want to say he fell in love with that girl, but he liked that girl back then. And he knew she was still in here.
Yeah.
And if I would just allow her to come back out, but in order for her to come back out, she had to feel safe. Yeah. And he did that for me. Not only he did that for me, but God did that for me. God placed me in that relationship to be able to heal, to be able to grow. I'm not as anti-man as I used to be.
Yeah.
I trust men now to a certain point.
Yeah.
I don't assume that they're out to hurt me or that they're out for something or, I don't assume that people are in general anymore.
Yeah.
My mental health is 100% better. I mean, I wake up every day and I don't jump out of bed, let's be honest. Arthritis doesn't allow me to do certain things, but there's that residual trauma coming back into my joints. So I have to deal with that. But I get up, I work a full-time job, I go to school full-time, which is coming to an end in May.
Oh, that's awesome.
One class this semester, one class next semester, and I will have my BSW and take my big state test.
Oh, that's awesome.
Things that he said I could never do.
Yeah. Good for you.
He said I never finish what I start.
My ex-husband said the same damn thing to me.
You never finish what you start.
You never finish what you start. Nobody's ever going to want you.
I'm the best you're ever going to find.
What is there, a class on this?
Oh my gosh. Asshole 101.
It must be. But, and here's another thing, too, that I do want to say as well, because I know that men do watch this, is it does go the other way, too. There are ladies that are abusive to men, and I've actually had quite a few people in my life that have experienced that. I don't even know how to approach a guy when that comes up, because it takes a lot for them to even
very carefully
say that too.
Men can be abused, absolutely, and in fact, I would go so far as to say that when a man does say he's being abused, nobody believes him either. Yeah. Because what kind of a can I swear?
You can swear.
What kind of a pussy lets a woman pick on him or abuse him?
Right.
Well,
that's what they get told. Yeah.
That's what they, it's awful. Like, why can't we just treat each other with respect?
Right.
Mutual respect and admiration. And why is a man a pussy if he's not hitting back?
Right, exactly.
Or abusing back.
Yeah.
If he's being a strong man in his own right and not sending on the abuse, if he's not continuing the cycle. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for men who can say, I've been abused.
I do too, absolutely, because to be able to stand up and say that and not get that backlash, or, how do you have that conversation?
But at the same time, don't have a victim mentality.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because it's better if you continue to go, okay, I'm not a victim. I am a warrior. I'm a survivor. I am not going to be labeled as a victim.
I think that's the biggest thing that spurred me on, is that I never allowed myself to feel like a victim. I never allowed myself to feel like I wasn't worthy, like I wasn't worth it. Right. I finally figured out not to get my worth or find my worth in a man. Although he makes me feel all kinds of worth in all kinds of different ways. I know that my worth, my self-worth, comes from loving me and my relationship with Christ. Yeah. Sometimes that's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not going to pretend it is, because I went through battles. There's battles in my mind. I read a lot of books. I went to a lot of counseling. I did a lot of talking. I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of stomping. I by no means handled anything or everything perfectly, but
I and that's another thing too, is finding what it is, what it means to love you, because after you've been in a relationship for so long and you take on all of their, I don't want to say yuck, but I guess
garbage.
they're garbage.
Garbage,
They're,
yeah.
and you're getting this pelted on you. It is hard to come out of that and not be have the victim mentality. It was for me, because I worked with him, and he was still there as we were separated, and everybody around me was continuing to, well, did you hear what he said? Do you know what he's doing? I don't care. I don't want to know. I'm moving forward. So I would continue, and I'd let that eat at me, even though I'd be like, I don't care. Deep down inside, I was like, I was wounded.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to find out how to love me, because I just went into it not really loving me to begin with. So
There's something to be
that.
said about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Learning who you are before you get married, before you jump into a relationship. Take the time for yourself. And my daughter, who is 23, I'm so proud of her. She has taken the time for herself, developed herself, has a career. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She really has no prospect in sight, as far as I am aware, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There could be someone, I just don't know. But she has taken the time to cultivate herself, and that's so important. Cultivate yourself. Invest in yourself. I'm not talking about buying clothes, buying jewelry, but no. Invest in you. Invest in becoming the best version of you that you can be.
And it looks different for everybody.
Exactly.
It looks different, but you really have to find that. You have to find out what it is that you want.
What drives you.
And that's the thing too, is when you get in a relationship, sometimes that happens. You completely lose all those things that were driving you because you want to be
That
one.
is called codependency.
That is absolutely called that. And I've heard that word thrown around. It's not been loosely thrown around at me either.
Codependency.
But that happens a lot. People stop talking with their friends. They're just in this big love bubble. Codependent love bubble, we'll call it that, right?
It's fine to be dependent upon each other. I depend upon my husband. He depends upon me in various ways. However, like I stated earlier, the man can sleep soundly when I leave the house.
Yep.
He can function independently without me. In fact, one year when my oldest son graduated high school, this is going to sound really, I don't know. We went to Europe for 3 weeks. Just me and my son. And Nate stayed home with my other son and held down the fort and went to work and made sure everything was going the way it should be, and did fine. He missed me and I missed him, but life went on.
Right.
And he allowed me to do the things I needed to do, which was take that trip.
Yeah.
That was a trip that it was in 2018, and that was a life-altering trip. Life-altering. I took myself to lunch in a foreign country and ordered food. Do you want to feel confident and competent?
Do that. Yeah.
Go to Italy, order yourself food in Italian, and pay your own bill, and eat by yourself. Yeah. Handle baggage issues at the airport. Handle missed flight issues. Handle some complicated crap that happens when you travel and you don't have a man there to handle it for you. Empower yourself. Do it. I dare you. I triple dog dare you.
There you go. Now you guys have that challenge.
I mean, I don't care if you go to Saginaw to lunch by yourself. Do something for you that challenges you and gets you out of that complacency and codependent bubble. Yep. Because if you stay in that bubble, in that codependent bubble, you'll never escape. Nope. You'll never grow. And that's no way to live. I see people doing it, and I can name names, and I'm not going to. But it makes me mad because it's people in my family, and relationships are ruined.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny that you say that, go take yourself out to lunch, go do all that stuff. Adam goes up to hunting camp, and I'm just like, all right.
See
And he
ya.
knows this because I was
Yeah.
just like, I got the house to myself, and I'm going to go take me here, and I'm going to go do this. And I do. I do. I go
Mhm.
out, I will get my nails done, I'll go buy me some flowers, I'll do anything that I want to
Yes.
do and just enjoy that time. And we both do. But
I
in the
love
beginning,
that.
it wasn't like that
Mhm.
because before I was with him, the guy that I was dating passed away,
Oh.
and it was traumatic. So for me, it was really hard to go, oh, he's going to go somewhere. What if something happens to him?
Right.
You know, so
Right.
there was
A
that.
little
But
bit of
now
PTSD
there
there.
was. But now I'm like, all right, see ya. Have fun. You know, he just got home today, and I'm like, good to see you.
Yeah.
How's it going?
I'm glad you're
You know,
home. Glad you're
right.
with me.
I
Yeah.
missed you, but I also really enjoy that time, as does he. So I do challenge people to do that as well in a
Mhm.
relationship, to continue to do the things that you love.
Mhm.
You know, because when that happens, when you're with somebody and if they're gone, my first thing I said was, what do I do now?
Yeah. Now
What
what?
do I do?
Mhm.
And
How do I go on?
you don't want to be in that situation.
Mhm.
You don't.
Well, I learned that at a young age when my sister passed away. You know, she and I were always together, and I couldn't sleep because I couldn't hear her breathing anymore, you know. So I learned that at an early age, unfortunately. Um, a lesson I took into adulthood, and that was that, yeah, it is okay to be on my own. My brother's 7 years older than me, so pretty much being an only child, because he does his thing, and I was still at home and stuff. So I just learned how to be functional alone. And so stepping into a relationship with my ex-husband, where he wanted me to check on him, bring me a cup of water. Like, the man had rules. Okay. I want you to check on me every so often, like check on me every 20 minutes. And I'm like, I have little kids in the house. You want me to come and dude, your feet work.
Yep.
What is your problem? And we
Yep.
would have arguments about it because I'd fight it. I would fight that codependency.
Yeah.
Innately, I knew to fight it. And innately, we know when something isn't right. But when we ignore the red flags is when we find ourselves in a hole. That is a problem. And so I would try to get him to be more independent. You don't need me. Here, take a bottle of water out with you.
Right.
You know, you might need a break from the sun. Come in the house when you need more water. Let me do my thing in here with the kids. I'm whatever, you know.
Right.
Or I'm on the other side of the house with the kids. And no, I'm not going to pat your hand. Now, does that mean I'm not a helpmate? No. I want to be a helpmate, but I don't want to be overwhelmed by you. You should not be your spouse's biggest child.
No, never. Thank you for saying that as well. All right, Bobby, you're coming back again. We're gonna do this. I know we have probably other things too. We could definitely touch base on there. I am gonna go over here to YouTube really quick. Kenna is joining in and says, "Hi guys." Jen says, "Seeking support, not attention seeking." I am so proud of you, Bobby. And she also says, "You both are beautiful."
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who's tuning in tonight. We do appreciate that. But you're right. That, for real, you shouldn't have to. You have your own feet. Like you said, you have your own feet, your hands. You can do that. You shouldn't have to live for another person like that.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to raise little people who need you constantly. And let me tell you, my kids, like I said, they're stair steps. They were, well, right now they're 19, 20, and 23, almost 21 and 23. And so they demanded all of me, all of me. And he would get jealous of my babies. And I'm just like, you helped make them. Like, what's wrong with you?
Wow.
Men, stop being insecure about your women and having your baby. Like, stop the insanity. It's insane the amount of men I see who get jealous over their children.
Why?
Why?
Right.
Why?
Things
Because
that they never solved with their
yeah,
mental
because
health.
of their own trauma. Take care of your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Grow
Absolutely.
up. I don't want to hear it. My boys, let me tell you what, they are emotionally mature. They have an emotional intelligence that is astounding to me because I talk to them. I talk to them, I tell them, I explain, I show, like I will explain your dad, you know, because they were hearing one version from one side.
Mm-hmm.
And so would come home with questions and I had to answer them. And I would say, I'm not slamming your father. He's your dad. He loves you. But this is the truth of what happened
Mm-hmm.
at an age appropriate level.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not going to go into nitty gritties, but like, this is what you should know. If he's going to tell them lies, I'm going to come in with the truth. That didn't always go over well.
Yeah.
He didn't necessarily like it. And I was like,
Well, they need to know the truth.
they deserve to know the truth.
They do.
You can't use them as your sounding board and expect me not to fix the truth or fix what was wrong,
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
That's all right. Just, talking. They're very emotionally sound and
Yeah, they're emotionally intelligent. They just are. I look at my oldest son and his fiance, and I think they're going to have problems, but they're going to have their own problems.
mm-hmm.
They're not going to have their dad and I's problems or her mom and dad's problems. They're going to have their own problems, and they'll figure it out. And I have every confidence. And my youngest and his girlfriend, they're just happy. They're young.
Yeah.
They're just young and happy. So, yeah.
That's awesome. There's Buford is saying I love you.
Who?
I don't know if I'm saying that right. Oops. Never mind. Hold on a second. Looks like Buford. Bifu. You are?
I don't know if he's saying it to me.
I don't know, but thanks for the love, I guess.
Sure.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it's so where you're at now though, as opposed to where you were. Is there any advice that you would give to somebody who is facing that right now?
If you're facing it, reach out. Reach out. I don't care if you reach out to a close friend. I don't know if you're in this local area, you can find one of us. We'll help you. If you want out, there's ways to get out. Mine was a non-violent situation, so I still worried about my safety. Maybe that's a topic for another day, but there was a physical altercation that led me to file for divorce and resulted in surgery for me. So I just recommend that if you have the feeling in your gut that you need to get out, get out. You can do it one of two ways. You can do it the way I did it and plan. You can do it the way Heather did it and just come out. I mean, you will land.
Yeah.
You will land. There are forces out there to help you. There are innumerous amounts of churches that help women.
Absolutely.
And there are shelters that help women. Yes, that's a scary word, but I have taken a girlfriend there to the shelter here. But there's no reason for abuse.
Mm-mm.
No reason for abuse. Find a counselor. Christian counselor versus secular counselor. I'm okay with secular. As a Christian, I'm okay with secular. I don't think one or the other matters. All that matters is that you get the help that you need.
Yeah.
And don't suffer and don't let your children suffer. Because you matter. You matter.
Absolutely. I agree. And, it's been since 2011 for me. And I obviously still wish him well no matter what our ending was. But for me, I would have done it over and over again. Just because I did find myself after that. And it doesn't seem like you will at that time. It doesn't when you make that step, it doesn't feel like that. But now it's like Okay, I did the right thing then. It took a little bit, but it did. It
Hmm.
took a little while. And I believe no matter where it is that you're at, that you can do it as well. I mean, there are different situations, like you said, the not physical, but there are the physical ones. But contact, you have to get a hold of somebody to be able
Hmm.
to get out of that
You
situation.
have to have somebody you can trust. You have to have somebody you can confide in. And if it's a counselor, if it's your doctor, if it's, and listen, verbal abuse counts, financial abuse counts. If you don't know how much money is in the checking savings, if you don't know how to pay bills, if you don't know, if you don't have a credit card, if you don't, I mean, men that are controlling like that, and even women, because it could be a same sex relationship.
Hmm.
It could, I don't know who we're talking to. It could be same sex. It could be any one of the above. Reach out for help. You're not alone.
Absolutely. And Jen has also said that she's lived in the shelter for a while. So she's been there. And, it really is just reaching out. It's scary though. It is
It
very
is.
scary, but I think the longer that you stay in the situation, the harder that it does get to make that step.
Change is scary. Yes, I stayed in my marriage for 22 years, or we were together 22 years, married 21, I believe. Change is scary, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. So
Nothing is impossible.
it isn't.
It's really not. And I learned that. I learned that I can do whatever I put my mind to and put my shoulders to.
Yeah. And that's the
Um,
Bobby I know now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
hearing this,
yeah.
hearing your journey, I was floored. Just a little bit that I got to hear, Thursday night, and I would never have known. Never would have known. But that's the thing is people think that
Mhm.
always.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
that's the thing. The things that we hide behind closed doors, the things we don't discuss,
Hmm.
start talking about them.
Yeah.
Start talking. Stop being in the silence. And there's nothing wrong with silence. I'm just going to say that. My pastor would kick me if I didn't say that. That was the sermon today was, sitting in silence and being okay with it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But do not suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Do not. And do not let another human being put you in a position where you cannot make it
Yeah.
without them.
No, and like you said, that's codependent.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody didn't realize that that's maybe what you're facing right now, get a hold of your therapist or a therapist, a doctor, like Bobby had said.
Yeah.
Find who it is that you need to talk to. At,
Just start
just
talking.
start talking. Just start talking.
And if somebody doesn't believe you, find somebody else.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
We've talked about that on the past show. If you have a therapist and you're not jiving with them, you can fire them.
Find a new one.
Get a new one. I had
Mm-hmm.
one that was trying to prescribe me stuff, and at that time I wanted to have kids. And I had
Sure.
asked that. I'm like, well, if I take this, they blatantly said, do you want to be like your mother? Because she had mental
Mm-hmm.
issues as well. Do you want to have kids and be like your mom? Wait a minute. Like, she was the best person that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. I was out of there. I
Yeah.
found somebody new, though. You don't have to accept.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You don't
That's
have to
right. You have
accept.
choices.
You do.
You're not stuck. You're not a tree. You can move. I tell my children that all the time.
Yeah.
You're not a tree. You can move.
Well, that's some great advice, and I think we're going to go ahead and leave you guys with that. Bobby, I thank you so much for joining tonight and sharing your journey with everybody. It's incredible to meet who you are and to know more about who you are as well, and we thank you for that.
It's an honor and a privilege.
And to be able to speak with others that are out there listening. Again, if you guys are going through something like this, please reach out. Reach out. We do have our inbox open as well. We may not be able to treat or prescribe, but we can definitely try to help you on your journey and try to figure out where we can, put you or help you to find somebody to get you to where you need to be to get that help. So please
Absolutely.
reach out to us on Facebook. That one of us that are on there will be able to reach back out to you and hopefully help you. So with that being said, I mean, I didn't go over like the shout outs and things. We usually, give a shout out to Stone Cottage Farm and a couple other different places, but we'll go ahead and add those on the Facebook page. Don't forget, tomorrow is Motivational Monday. I will see you guys bright and early before I go to work in the morning because now I work Mondays, but that's all right. I don't mind. I'm happy that you guys are joining in and listening. I appreciate that. And we're just going to continue to keep moving forward with that as well. And don't forget, guys, life is best lived.